Hi VC, Dale Gatefold 33 back with another video, and this is going to be a quickish finds video because I got to look at a couple of collections, we'll call it, this week. So Sunday at the car boot sale, as I normally do, I kind of obviously going around looking for records. But if somebody looks like they have potential to have records, they're the right age or something like that, even if they've got all their stuff out and there are no records there, I'll always say, oh, do you have any records? And sometimes they'll go, oh, I didn't think to bring the records. And then you can say, oh, well, what have you got? And start getting into a conversation. Often they'll say, oh, I'll bring them next time. But occasionally they'll say, oh, okay, give me a number and I'll come round and have a look. So I got two people's numbers on Sunday. One was someone local, quite local to me, only about 10 minutes drive away. So I went around there on Monday. That was a fail. I picked up a handful of not very interesting things. They didn't have much. They only had like one of those black hold-all boxes of albums. But then another person who gave me their number, phoned them up yesterday morning and said, I can come round after work. He said, fine. I said, sort of, what have you got? He said, oh, how many records have you got? He said, about 50. I said, what are they, sort of 60s, 70s, 80s? Because I remember him being a little bit older than me, so I thought that's probably what they would be. And he said, yeah. And he said, I've got a load of 78s as well. And I thought, oh dear, that doesn't bode well. Could be, this is just going to be easy listening, charity fodder rubbish. And this was about 30 odd minutes drive away. So I was kind of at that point debating, do I say, oh, actually, I'm not going to bother? So end of the day came at work. So I finished work, drove over there, and actually, I was glad I did. It was a pretty decent mix of stuff, and some things as well that were new to me that I was quite interested in. So we did the deal. He also, as I was going through, said, oh yeah, I've looked some of these up online as well, so I kind of know what they're worth. And I thought, oh, there we go. Because often that means someone's looked up a record, found the price that it's the highest price it's ever sold for, that was a signed copy by the band, and think that that's what they're going to get for their record. And then you kind of starting from a very high bar. But anyway, we did a deal. Actually, it was a good deal. I mean, he wanted to get rid of me. He was moving, downsizing, didn't want to take his records. There were more than 50. He said there were 50. There was more like 100 plus. Some of it was his father's, some of it was Andy Williams and stuff like that. But I probably ended up with 50 or 60 things. Some of them, a lot of them I've already got. So I've got these here, which are the highlights that I'll just quickly show you. And the ones I'm going to show first are the ones that I'm most interested in because I haven't actually got them. So I'm just literally going to flash these up. I haven't cleaned them. I haven't listened to them. I only got them last night. But yeah, I thought I'd just share them because yeah, so getting a good outcome from when I was kind of on the fence about whether I even bothered. Right, show some records now. It's 4 minutes. Okay, first one up is this. These all cost me in the end, if you average it out for the total, about £3 each. So yeah, so this is an original Misty and Roots on the People Unite label. Some of the covers are a little bit, but the records all look pretty clean. That looks like they'll clean up well. A lot of the records he'd left in the shrink, which is terrible, and I'll show you when I get to some. The shrink starts to shrink and it deforms the covers. So people who leave their records in the shrink, I really don't understand it. Okay, next to, so this is The Fall and Grotesque. It's like a first press of The Fall's Grotesque. I've got about 4 or 5 Fall albums all on cassette. for some reason. And yeah, I've tried several times. I've had a few Fall albums in the past. So here's the other one again, the first press, I think, on Camera Records. So it looks like it might be a first press of Hex Induction Hour. So that looks interesting. Again, looks like another very early pressing of Closer. I've got a slightly later, sort of 82, 81, 82. It's got the rounded corners inner. Covers a little bit worn, but Closer. This I've seen before, never heard it, no idea what it sounds like. But yeah, Iggy Pop and James Williamson, Kill City. No idea, I guess it's punky. This looked interesting, maybe rubbish. Orion, Jack Orion, signed, I guess private press, folky. So don't know what that's going to be like. Early Eek-A-Mouse, so a bit of what, dub reggae. What's that on? Green Sleeves. Mainly UK pressings, he says, as he picks up this one. Dennis Brown, Africa. So I think this is a UK French issue of a completely different titled album. I think Westbound Train, I think it was called, on the UK press, but this is the French press of that album. Another Dennis Brown, Visions of Dennis Brown. What's that on? That's on Laser, is it? Velvet Underground Loaded, UK press, not a first press, it's not on the red and plum, it's on the orange and green Atlantic, I think from 72, but still quite an early press and looks in nice condition of Loaded. Some more reggae, Capital Letters and Headline News. No idea, but looking forward to hearing that. Then a couple of albums by a band that I've been intrigued by for a long time and always on the lookout, but not seen their albums. So the first two albums by the Monochrome Set. So this is Strange Boutique. Yeah, apparently, you know, it looks like it's going to be Joy Division-ish, but apparently it's more jangle pop. What's this on? It's on Din Disc. So there's that one, and this is one of the ones that was in the shrink. So the cover, you know, the shrink was sort of like really kind of sticking out there, and the cover's been deformed, but the record doesn't look warped. It's another Din Disc Monochrome Set, and Love Zombies, Slits, and Return of the Giant. I don't think this is supposed to be as good as their debut. I've got their original of their debut, but yeah, nice to have a chance to listen to that. And then a Susie and the Banshees album that I don't have, Join Hands. Not supposed to be one of their best, but I've got this pretty much completes sort of my Susie and the Banshees collection of their first sort of 6 or 7 albums now. So I was glad to find that. So all for like £3 each. So and again, a Doors album that's not supposed to be great, but I'll get a chance to listen to it now and find out for myself. And then sort of finally, in the sort of stuff I haven't got, a comp of John Cooper Clarke, The Bard of Salford on Epic. So there's, I don't know, 15, 20 albums that are new to me, for me to explore, add to the hundreds and hundreds that are in the inbox. And then there's a sort of, the next stack are albums I know or have already got that may or may not be upgrades, or I may pass on. So Madness, One Step Beyond, David Bowie, Heroes, Talking Heads, Remaining Light, Kaleidoscope by Susie and the Banshees, Juju. This one is one of those, it's still in the shrink, and the shrink, I've got to get the shrink off carefully. Au Pairs, playing with the different sexes. So it's like a nice clean copy, might be a better copy than the one I've got. Specials. Buzzcocks debut in a Music in a Different Kitchen. Again, another one that's in the shrink, and it's stuck in the shrink that I've got to see if I get off. This is Doors' Strange Days. This is a German sort of 70s reissue. Dr. Feelgood, Down by the Jetty. This is a Fame reissue of that. I do have an original of this. Prince, Purple Rain. Bowie, Low. This, you can see this is a bit wavy, this cover, not because it's water damage, but because again it was in the shrink, and the shrink deformed the cover, which is frustrating. And then these I haven't checked the pressings on yet. I think this is an original, looks like originalish pressing of Help. There's a slightly battered original mono Sgt. Pepper's, and this is the, I think, a 70s, late 60s, early 70s of Revolver. So I was at 30 odd records there. A decent haul, definitely worth the trip that I nearly didn't make. Okay, cheers VC, bye.